There are very few airsoft guns like this, so very few that stand out like this mostly plastic shotgun. If it was made by any other company or if it was almost anything else besides the model that it is, but demanded the same price, we would most definitely ignore such a thing. But this is a SPAS 12. This is a Toku Marui SPAS 12, and mine is boasting something that can sell for much more than the shotgun is worth. I've been hunting down a SPAS 12 for as long as I can remember, but one thing held me back from ever buying one. It had to have the stock and hook. I'm in the same situation over the Echo 1 Spectre RDPs. I love that gun, but I would never buy one without the proper over-folding stock. But finally, I can give you guys a better look at what I think is the coolest shotgun in all of Airsoft, thanks to my friend Alex from D14, who sold me this amazing SPAS a couple weeks ago at the D14 Summer Swap Meet. I won't tell you guys how much I spent on this gun, but I will show you why I spent money on such a gun that I don't think would ever sell in today's Airsoft world, or at least as well as they do now. When these released in Japan in the late 1990s, the Toku Marui SPAS 12 sold in 3 packages: models without the stock, models with the stock, as well as a package with just the stock in a yellow box. But these would disappear quickly since a SPAS 12 without a stock is pretty disappointing, so these steel stocks became quite desirable. Just imagine for a second the clever girl scene from Jurassic Park, but without Mr. Muldoon unfolding the stock. This seemingly uncomfortable piece of metal is at times more legendary than the gun itself. Funny enough, I remember hearing a rumor that Steven Spielberg kept the SPAS 12 after the original Jurassic Park's production concluded. Nowadays, to find a complete Toku Marui SPAS 12, you'll need to search all over the internet periodically to find someone selling one on eBay or in forum pages, or you'll just have to source them part by part. The shotgun alone can be had rather easily at times, but when they disappear off the market, then they can remain like that for months on end. And with the stock being legendarily rare, even Octagon Airsoft made a replica of the Toku Marui stock. So I guess they're replicas of a replica for a replica. That's why I thanked Alex so much for considering to sell me this one as much as I did with the original TM stock and hook, as well as the original 3 shells that came in the box that he received, which I sadly didn't get when I picked up this piece. In the real world, the SPAS 12, or the Special Purpose Automatic Shotgun, was later renamed to the Sporting Purpose Automatic Shotgun to last a little longer in the US market before importation bans ended this in 1989 by former US President George Bush Sr. Then under President Bill Clinton's federal assault weapons ban in 1994, all models of the SPAS 12 were denied entry by name, including other weapons like Norinco AKs, the IMI Uzi, Galil, the Beretta AR-70, FNFAL, the terribly named Street Sweeper shotgun, Tech 9s and lookalike firearms, as well as the Ingram Mac-10 and 11, as well as several others. As a good kick in the ass though, a study found that this ban had no impact on homicide rates. Regardless, the SPAS 12 and later SPAS 15 that not many people are even aware exist are large, intimidating shotguns with a big metal heat shield around the SPAS 12 that might be recognizable from the M4A1 Alien Pulse rifle. Then we have an enlarged pump and of course the strange look of the stock with lightning cuts in the form of circles. This does look like a scary gun if you're not too familiar with firearms. However, for Airsoft, well, you quickly realize it's not really much to fear when you handle it. Due to Japanese regulations that Toku Marui was forced to follow, the majority of this gun is plastic. This can be seen as an immediate turnoff for a lot of people, unless you handle this replica and notice that nothing bends or creaks. Only the outer barrel assembly, magazine tube, sling point, trigger, left side safety, stock and hook, the point the stock snaps into, sights, controls, shell trap door, and some important internal parts are metal, with the stock and hook being made from steel, which is nice to see, while everything else from the receiver, heat shield, pistol grip, and so on are all Marui grade plastic. This keeps the weight of this replica down at 5.7 pounds, which greatly differs from the 10-pound weight that the real SPAS 12 carries around. And you won't be adding on any more weight with the suppressor since this Marui is void of any threads underneath the beefy flash hider. I always thought it was kind of funny how the suppressor just pops onto the very tip of the SPAS on Black Ops. When it comes to Toku Marui, you need to acknowledge the eye for detail that can be found on the top of the heat shield with these indicators that would show you what mode you're currently in. You'll have M for manual pump that would be used with lower powered ammunition or for beanbag rounds, or for A for semi-automatic fire, which the SPAS was intended to be fired on with full powered 12 gauge shells. You won't be able to change these firing modes since this is a standard pump action spring airsoft shotgun, but seeing the pump lined up with the manual line on the heat shield and seeing that the button that's used to change these modes is on the pump, it's a nice touch, even if the button is molded into the plastic pump. This is a detail that I'm happy to see here. I really would have liked to see some proper trademarks on the right side of the receiver, but that's a detail absent from this replica. A little strange too for Marui, since they never really seem to care about proper trademark licensing, but I guess for this piece they didn't even bother to fake them. I did find it pretty funny that Marui used the original and infamous lever style safety that the original Franchi model shipped out with, as the lever to flip open the loading door. These safeties would fail over time with use, and could fire a shell that was chambered when you disengaged a safety, resulting in a total recall, so the lever safeties could be replaced with a more traditional push-button crossbolt safety. And what would be the quick implement safety lever, which realistically is just a secondary safety, is now your primary safety for this airsoft replica, while the lever safety can be pushed to one side to also act as a secondary safety measure that won't allow you to open the shell latch. Now, a bit of a bummer is these controls that would be the shell release and magazine cutoff are just molded into the plastic body. These wouldn't be useful to us airsofters anyway, but I would have liked to see them actually be buttons, like how the forward assist is on an Airsoft M4. My trapdoor lever and quick safety are sadly really wobbly, but that's something that I can fix myself thanks to this breakdown video that I found, or I could just tape the safety forward on the body so it won't affect me in game. Now, flipping this lever down and opening what would be the loading gate on the real shotgun, you will expose where you can place one of these plastic 30 round shells. The shells that these shotguns came with include some Marui engravings and a distinctive gold shine to what would be the brass. These will give you 10 shots since you'll be firing 3 BBs at a time through the 3 inner barrels inside the outer barrel jacket. You can also use UTG or Jag precision shells, as they all work the same as long as they fit in. This is a great feature for the SPAS 12, especially since the only other SPAS on the market when this model was in its glory days was the KTW, a slightly smaller replica, and that thing could only fire a single BB or two, and it had a really poorly thought out magazine tube that were even more rare to find extras of than the TM SPAS stock. If you're gonna run this shotgun, I'd recommend either carrying a pouch for loaded shells and another pouch for empty shells, carry along a bandolier, or you could even attach your own saddle to the left side of the body like Concept did with his own personal SPAS 12. Or if you really want to, you could even pop off this cap and shove 2 shells into this mock magazine tube segment up front. This isn't very practical though, so I really wouldn't advise this. I'd rather just shove shells in my pockets than struggle with this every time I needed to make a reload in game. But if you really need those 2 emergency shells, then this is where you'd put them. I wouldn't, because putting this cap in is a huge pain, but that's just my opinion. And be aware that when using this gun, whichever arm you use to pump the action will most likely grow sore with use. You'll be charging back 3 springs to chamber 3 BBs at a time. A tip that I've learned that might reduce some strain is to pull the pump back and push the SPAS forward with the pistol grip. This will make things so much easier. Furthermore, if you're worried about double pumping this spring shotgun and don't want to cause any internal mishaps, you can free yourself from a little bit of worry since this shotgun won't allow you to pump it twice before firing, but you can slam fire this replica whenever you'd like to, which can be useful. A major tip that I would give is to wear some gloves if you know you're going to be sweating in game. Even with these grooves on the pump, a little sweat can make pumping this shotgun miserable and pretty embarrassing when you can't get a good grip on the smooth plastic. Now, I always thought that the Modern Warfare 2 SPAS 12 was funny for one reason. I know you have to balance guns out to make them fair, even in a game like Modern Warfare 2, but the SPAS in game is set to manual pump mode, which is silly considering I'm sure that your soldier isn't so daft to use shells that require him to do so when he could set the SPAS to semi-automatic at any time. But even though it's on pump mode, the action still opens to eject a shell as if the SPAS was on semi-auto mode, then you pump the shotgun anyway. So are you just wasting a shell with each pump or what? Regardless, the bolt on this replica is completely molded into the body, so that sucks. That's one thing that the old KTW has over this TM. The bolt was connected to the pump on that model, which is pretty cool if I do say so myself. But then again, nothing else about that model can be seen as amazing. To be frank, the Black Ops rendition of the SPAS 12 is more correct, besides the fact that you wouldn't be able to look down your sights with the stock folded like it is in game, and that you need to push to shell release as you load in new shells. Yeah, the SPAS 12 wasn't exactly known for being the best shotgun out there, making it a little bit easier to understand why this shotgun was never very popular with military or police as it was intended, but more popular in film and video game. Now, if you flip the stock over and away from the metal rear sight, you'll see a huge ghost ring sight that will work great for us airsofters. The large blade sight post up front matches well with the rear sight, but unlike the real shotgun, it's not painted to stand out when aiming down the sights. The front sight and subsequently the outer barrel can sometimes be tilted, but this is easily fixed by correcting its placement before screwing this screw down to keep the outer barrel in place. The eye for details that I mentioned earlier shows itself again with the pistol grip that has a molded grip plug to replicate the real plug, and of course in the stock that swings over and sets itself when these spring-loaded pins lock into this point. The same can be done for this portion so the stock can be completely unfolded. Then you can decide which way you want the hook to be pointing, or if you even want the hook to be on the stock at all. If not, then just twist it to this position and then pull it right out. This hook or arm brace gets a lot of questions asked whenever people see it, and if you want to get a little bit of a laugh, this seemingly metal horseshoe can sell for $100 to more than $300. That's right. I've seen these sell for as much as a new mid-range airsoft gun. And if you're looking for the real thing, then man, forget about it. You're going to be spending anywhere from $300 to $700. The point of this piece serves as a carry handle, which I really wouldn't use because I already feel like I'm bending something just by holding it this way. And then of course you can use it as an arm brace whenever you're riding in vehicles. Now I've never fired a single shot out of a SPAS 12. I only handled one at a SHOT Show years ago, but I can't see this being very comfortable, but what do I know? The SPAS 12 project made it look super easy while riding along in a Humvee, so I'm probably just over-exaggerating. I'd really recommend you watch a few of his videos, including his buyer's guide for all the info you'll need on the real SPAS 12, as well as Forgotten Weapons video over the SPAS 12. They know much more than I do over the real shotgun, and I enjoy nerding out on their stuff whenever I can. This Marui stock is very sturdy for what it is and what holds it in place, but it still wobbles just a bit as you would assume since there's only these two screws that hold it onto the pistol grip. Regardless, this is the piece that makes this shotgun prized and collectible. If you thought that the PSG one that I own was collectible, then you have no idea how much people will pay for this complete shotgun. Now onto the chronograph with some high power airsoft 0.2 gram BBs. I was getting really low FPS ratings with one BB shot at a time. Then with all three BBs going down all three barrels, this Marui still shoots pretty low FPS because it still has to fall in line with Japanese law. It can't really shoot much faster than this. This is great for me because now I can take the SPAS 12 in the CQB or field or anywhere else and not have any problems with FPS. Then take the shotgun to the range with that same bottle of BBs, and range is a little limiting, but what do you expect of an old tri-shot like this? You should be using this gun to close to mid-range engagements anyway, so the minimal 150 foot mark is passable. Extending the stock 297mm long inner barrels to run further down the outer barrel should also jump your range just a bit if you're willing to do some aftermarket upgrades. The points of wear are also minimal, with paint chipping on the upper portion of the trigger, the pistol grip, and receiver, where the stock grazes the surface as it flips over like the fire selector on a Kalashnikov. The heat shield will also begin to shine a little bit from the pump riding along it with normal use, like the real firearm would. And then of course the actual mainsprings powering the shotgun will have to be replaced after time with extensive use, like all traditional spring shotguns do. So range is reasonable for such a low FPS, and people really shouldn't be complaining if they got blasted with something like this. So how would I use the Marui SPAS 12? Well, keeping in mind that you can't attach anything to this weapon besides a sling with the point on the pistol grip and metal swivel loop up front without doing possibly damaging mods to this classic piece, I'd say that I'd primarily use this shotgun for close to mid-range field play, where you would clearly see your opponents. Even dim lit areas shouldn't be too hard though, unless you rely heavily on seeing your BB's path. In any case, you could tape on a flashlight at the end of the barrels and run a pressure switch if a light is so desperately needed. In well-lit CQB areas though, shotguns are very easy to use and downright some of the best guns to use to have just stupid amounts of fun, and you'll get a good reason to run this shotgun with the stock folded if you'd like to. Just pump, quickly acquire a target, shoot, and dip back in the cover to pump the action again. Shouldn't be too hard to land a hit as long as you're at least aimed in their general direction thanks to the tri-shot nature of this replica. I used this shotgun in Mission Airsoft in a mid to long range game and did pretty well. Just know your limits in range, wear some gloves so sweat on your hands won't become a problem, and I'd recommend you put the hook away somewhere. it tends to get in the way or just gets tangled in your gear, and it really isn't useful for the games that we play in Airsoft anyhow, so you won't need it unless you're really only going for looks and not function. So now, would I say that the price this shotgun demands is worth it if you're not a collector? No, I don't think so. You see, everything the shotgun can do can be done so much better with much more modular and customizable shotguns by Marui or by Jag Precision in the form of the scattergun line. At the beginning of this review, I said that something like this would be ignored if it came out today, or if it was a different model of gun altogether. Being a SPAS 12 is what makes this completely worth it to the collectors, and since you don't really have any other option for a well-detailed and usable SPAS in Airsoft, well, you just have to suck it up and spend some real money for this piece. Either that being $200 for just a plastic spring shotgun, or anywhere from $300 to $700 to have the stock included. What would I like to see if this gun ever got remade though? Well, I'd like to see a full metal version of this same gun, or even a gas-powered model that could be used in both pump or in semi-automatic, but I'm not sure if that's doable for less than $500. And there's a high demand for this thing, so they can charge about anything they want to if they are able to do that, like if LCT made their own PSG-1. This hasn't stopped some amazing techs from building shell-ejecting gas models by using the body of these Maruis to house Maruzen M110 internals. Those builds look really cool, but this is the SPAS 12 to get if you want the best one on the market. The only drawback being, you'll have to find one first. I hope you enjoyed my review over this amazing piece of Airsoft history as much as I do owning it. Or at least you learned something. I can't really recommend anywhere to find this gun, but keep your eyes out on Airsoft social medias. You just might get lucky. And if you really want one, then I'm sure that you'll find it one day. I'd also like to refer to you to BB2K's full 2-part review over the TM SPAS 12 and Jarek 4's review over the stockless version. I enjoy watching those guys a lot, so I just thought I'd give them a little credit. There's a lot to learn about this shotgun, both for Airsoft and for the real thing, so I hope you enjoy binge watching SPAS content. And if you have any further questions about this gun, then be sure to ask them down below in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to you. But until the next video drops from the city of San Antonio, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I will be sure to see you all next time.
Check this out. I almost shot that rabbit.